Are you rethinking your purpose in life? Being centered in a strong spiritual connection is more important now than ever. Hi, I'm Bryn Blankinship, hypnotherapist, international instructor, and author. Each episode, along with Dr. Pat, I'll share my experiences with guiding spiritual regression clients into the afterlife and the soul lessons gained, prompting you to explore your own soul's journey and empowering you by shifting your perception of yourself and your place in this world. I want you to know that you're here by design, not by accident. You are not alone. You are loved. You are here on purpose, for a purpose. When you stand in your truth and fulfill your purpose, you support others in fulfilling theirs. If this intrigues you, stay tuned in as we explore.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat, and I take this amazing journey with the one and only Bryn Blankinship. Today, Bryn is the afterlife teacher, so let's just talk about that. Anything you hear during the show today and anything that intrigues you, the best way to get information from you is your website, Bryn, right? Okay, Give that out now. And if you have a phone number you want to give out, any and all, let's make sure people have that.
You can reach me through, you can check up on things at brynblankinship.com, Bryn with a Y, Blankinship with an I. And then you can also follow me on Bryn Blankinship author on Facebook or Instagram. And that's the best way to just stay on top of what's happening.
Yeah. So this topic today brings us full circle in so many ways. I think it is one of the most reoccurring things that happens to people in their lives, and it is the least known and understood, and it is the one thing that when it happens to people, they have no clue what to do, how to interpret it, or what it means. Many people have gotten divorced over this thing. Many people have come together. Many people have started a business. Many people ... Today, we're talking about messenger dreams. Hello, right? Let's start. When you talk about this topic, are we talking about dreams in REM sleep? Are we talking about daydreams? Give us a backdrop for what we're about to talk about here today.
So a lot of times clients come in for a session and it may or may not be the main focus of the session, but they start talking about how they've had messages come through dreams when they're sleeping. So we're talking about sleep. And when clients mention that in pre-talk, I can work that into the session once we get to that point when the guides come in. And then we can ask more questions and get more clarification on what that was about. So we're talking about messenger dreams. When messages come through your dreams, because this is a way that your guides can get your attention, right? When you're asleep, you're not in your conscious mind, you're in another state, whatever state, altered state you want to call that, and they can come in and get your attention. And not only guides, but loved ones, because often messenger dreams are delivered by a loved one as well.
But let's talk about these dreams. Now, you know that what I said at the opening is probably 80% true. I think it is the most reoccurring thing we have that people call either the supernatural, the preternatural, whatever you want to call it, whatever that thing is. They understand they're not in a waking, walking, living state. It's something that happens. It comes to people, and most people don't know what to do with it. They don't know if they should pay attention. But what are the different types of dreams that you've seen show up?
Yeah. So let me just say, I'm not a dream expert, but I do know a little bit about dreams, and I want to talk about that today because, you have those dreams, I call them clearing dreams, where, it's like the kitchen sink kind of dream. Everything is in that dream. And then when you kind of wake up and analyze it, it's like, oh yeah, I was watching that on TV the other night, or that happened to me at work yesterday. And so your mind it needs a way to clear and de-stress just some of the mental clutter. So that is what I call a clearing dream. All right. And then messenger dreams. That is when a loved one comes through. It could be a guide or a loved one to give guidance, to comfort you, to, give you might have a premonition in your dream to alert you to something that's about to happen. So that's what we're going to talk about today, these messenger dreams. And then other dreams too are recurring dreams. So when you keep having that same dream over and over and over, that is your guide trying to get your attention, right? And usually it's the same dream, but often after it's recurred enough times, you start to get a few more details. And then also alternate realities. You may go to another planet or some other dimension in your dream and remember that when you come back. And then lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is when you're aware that you're dreaming while you're in the dream. You know, it's really wild. But you know, this is fascinating to me.
It is fascinating. And let's make a connection here, because the question that I think a lot of us that, I mean, I've been doing this 22 years and I don't understand much about dreams either. But what I do understand is now that I get a sense that there are the guides that are guides that are trying to communicate with me. But I don't know that that's true. Can you give us a backdrop? Is that something that happens in dreams? And how is it connected to the afterlife?
So the afterlife is there and we're down here, right? So your soul is up there. The main part of your soul is there, and a piece of it is here in this body. So we are in essence communicating back with the beings in the afterlife that are here helping us. And so you know, when I'm doing a session with a client, we can go in and revisit that dream. So we can revisit a dream to get clarification. You know, like I had this dream and I don't know what it meant, or I keep having this recurring dream. So in the session, in the SESR session, we can communicate with guides to get clarification. You know, what is the message you're trying to convey? What do you want me to know, right? If you're at a crossroads, your guide may be coming in to help you with that crossroads, but somehow the message gets jumbled up and then you wake up, you forget part of it, right? So we can get some clarification on that. We can also get clarification that that's your guide trying to reach you, right? So sometimes clients will say, you know, I don't know what that was. Was that a guide? You know, I had that dream and then it was like someone was talking with me. We can ask the guide, was that you? And they might say yes, or we can say, was that you, Aunt Susie? And she might say yes, or, you know, she may say in the session, she may say, no, that was your uncle, but I was there with him, you know, or we were all there supporting you. So, you know, in these sessions to get clarification, you can resolve an issue. You can bring forward a concept. Like if you're writing a book or you're writing a song, and you're trying to get the lyrics. You know, I've worked with some people from Hollywood, directors, jingle writers, actors, and they're trying to get a concept, right? And writers have writer's block. So they're trying to get that concept, and pieces of it are coming through the dream, but then they're just trying to get clarification. So we can get that as well by communicating with the guide in session. And projects. You know, like it doesn't have to be like an artist, that type of project. It could be an engineer who's trying to design something, a product, or, you know, some kind of engineering product that they're trying to, you know, figure out the configuration, what's the best way to design this item. So it's all of those kinds of things that your guides are communicating through your dream and through your dream state. And, you know, we just need to be aware of that so that we can pick up on those clues.
But, you know, here's the thing. These are clues. And this has always been the kind of craziness that goes on. These are dreams to help us to our highest best.
Yes.
And I wanted to say that because if you have a dream and it is not to your highest best, I would venture to say that is not your spiritual guide trying to help you, right?
Or, you know, if you have had alcohol before you go to bed, it's going to alter your mindset. If you've eaten, sometimes people eat before bed and then they're like, I have these crazy dreams on nights that I eat, right? You know, your guides are there to help you. But sometimes our mind will take the information in a negative way. Our mind will take it and not understand what it is. And then we tell our dream to someone, and then they're like, oh, what if it was something bad? And then they get, they scare us. And then we start to second guess ourselves. If you can just sit with it when you're having a dream, if you can sit with it the next morning and get clear, make note of what came through, and then notice if it happens again. If you have that recurring dream, notice if it comes through again. And then you'll start to make clearer connections. You'll start to have a deeper understanding, right? And, when I was driving in today, the song Dream On by Aerosmith came
Oh
on,
my gosh.
right? Talk about synchronicity. So like, I know that's my guides, and I kind of heard a little laugh in the background when that was happening. I was in the car alone, as far as I know. And that's just telling me, yep, we're watching you, we're with you today, and we're gonna help you with, the topic that you're gonna have the show, and having that sense of humor, because they want what's best for us. They know what we need. They know what's best. And so they're going to send it to us. And then clearer, we can see the signs and take the steps towards that.
Yeah. I want to ask you this question about SESR and dreams, but this is a question that I don't know what people should do, but I've learned myself. I am very reluctant to share some of my dreams with other people, especially if they're dreams, like the dream and the vision about the network. When that came up, I learned a hard life lesson. When you share that with people that can't see it, all they want to tell you is it's not going to work. You're hallucinating. Don't bother. Just because nobody had ever done this. Nobody
Why
ever
would you do
built a
that?
network like
Let me
ours, right?
warn you, right? They
Yeah.
dump all this negativity on you.
Yeah.
You're still trying to sort out, your dream. You're still trying to sort out how you're going to do it, right? So, I would say be cautious with your dreams. If you share it with someone, make sure it's someone that you can trust, who's
Hmm.
going to be non-judgmental, because you need someone to bounce the dream off of, like a trusted friend, not someone that's going to stomp on it and kind of tamp it down while you're trying to get clear on the message, right? And then it can be scary. So, because if you have a premonition dream, and it is a message, like if you have a loved one coming through saying another loved one is going to pass, that can be scary, right? But it can also be helpful because you're being put on alert. So you're being told this is going to happen, but maybe you have a little time to prepare instead of it just happening and you're just kind of left standing there. So like some of the examples of things that happen in session
Yeah,
with
please tell us because people need examples of this. You know what I mean? Everybody that we're talking to today, I would venture to say there aren't many that haven't struggled with trying to put all the dots together. And so that's what you're helping us with today. But how does this relate? What if the clients got clarification on, and has it shown up like an assessor, right? When you're doing a session with somebody, how does that all come together?
when we're going back into assessor session to explore the dream that a client had, right? Or if we're having the assessor session and at that point where I've got the guide with me, I will talk about the dream and ask more information about that so that the client can get some clarification. Because usually they're saying, Bryn, I'm psychic or I'm not psychic, but I do have dreams sometimes, premonition dreams. And I know sometimes when someone's going to pass. So when they're coming through, they are coming through to bring reassurance, right? They might be saying your surgery that's coming up is going to go well, or your child that's having difficulties, just bear with them. They'll work it out and their struggles will get smoother. And then sometimes they might say you need to step in, they need you. You're not being present with your child. So those kinds of things will happen. But I do remember one session, particularly with the child, and it was a teenager, and this person's daughter was going through a lot of struggle. And they said, they went ahead and shared what was going to happen with this young woman when she grew up. So all these struggles were part of her figuring it out. So they were saying, back off, but be there for her. she's going to figure it out and it's going to make her stronger. And then sometimes they're saying you're not present enough. You need to be there with your child. It could be a warning dream, like a warning dream that, often with aging parents or grandparents, someone's going to pass. Time is drawing near, but there's still time.
Yeah.
Act quickly. I had one of those recently. An aging parent will pass next spring, but there's still time, or act quickly because they're going to pass soon. So you need to go ahead and take advantage of the time you have. Sometimes guides will talk about, the dream was to let that client know that a job offer is coming, or they're going to be moving, right? They have a move coming up. They didn't know they were moving. Or a person that's coming into their life. So when a deceased loved one comes in, I've had this happen, and sometimes this happens after the session too. Like, what I'm about to share with you has happened both ways. So a deceased spouse came in during the session and communicated with the client. And then after the session, she had vivid dreams for the next couple of weeks, and that spouse would visit and then sit with her and hold her hand, and
Wow.
under a full moon. Or, you know, um, in the session, they take the client to their favorite place that they used to share together, like their favorite vacation spot or a mountaintop. Or I had another client that in the dream, because she was missing him terribly, he would come and they would go out on the boat and just sit under something about the full moon. And they
Yeah.
would sit under the full moon and just take in the scenery just together, right? They were back together again, and maybe he was holding her hand or put his arm around her. And this happened in the dream and then in the session as well. And
Wow.
that's when the deceased loved one, the spouse, came in and said, "That's me. I want you to know I'm here. I'm still watching over you. I'm watching over the kids. I wanted you to be able to feel me because I can feel that you're missing me. And I don't want you to be so sad. I want I know you have things you have to do and you have to carry on. So, I just want you to really know that I'm here." And that was my way of doing that and reassuring you. So,
Mm.
those kinds of things can happen. Another one that happened in the dream is the client said, "I keep having dreams about this child and I miscarried, and I'm wondering if that's the same child." Well, in session, the soul of the miscarried child came in and said, "It wasn't the right time. That was to put you on alert. I'm going to be coming back to you in a couple of years. And when I do, it'll be the right time." So it was just a
Wow.
chance for her to get things lined up. And can you
Wow.
imagine for me, like, I didn't know that was going to happen. I was sitting there, I'm just talking to a guide. I know that can happen. And then the soul of the miscarried child has messages for the mom, you know, but, it just puts everything into alignment.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's what I love about it, because people don't realize that sometimes we get out of alignment. Let's just take a moment, 30 seconds. What does that mean? That means if you're somebody laid out a plan for your life and your career, and you get to the point, that critical point, where you're ready to go from where you were to this career that everybody thinks you should have, and your response is depression.
yes,
And even that is not enough. But the guides are available, because this is exactly what happened to me, and it showed up in dreams. And this was before I knew anything about doing a show. What's a show? Clearly, dialing a wrong phone number and signing on to what? Internet in 2003. But I had that dream, and then it showed up.
yeah.
And I didn't put it together.
Well,
But it was
sometimes
life changing,
we
Bryn.
get everything lined up, and then right at that crossroad that you're talking about, that defining moment, we get scared. Like we the fear sets in and we forget all the things we did to get to this point, you know? I mean, I've talked about this before about me going to LA. You know, I had everything lined up and I was like paralyzed with fear. But now I look back and it's like, I mean, I knew I had to do it, right? But what if I hadn't? What if I had not taken that journey? I would not be doing what I'm doing now. I mean, that led to some other things that led me here, and I love what I'm doing. So I'm so grateful. But now when I get that feeling, I know it's there. I just don't give into it. I sit back, I take a moment, take a breather, and then I move forward, right? Like maybe it's not to stop me, it's so that I don't have to push through it. I just need to stop for a moment, collect my thoughts, get realigned. You know, if you're tired, if you're tired, you might not be hearing the messages clearly. So I might leave and go to the beach. You know,
I
I
love
might
that we're
go
talking
to the
about
park.
this. Look,
This is
let's
one of the
break
biggest
this
questions
down.
clients
Yeah,
have, right? People want to know, and their guides are communicating with them all the time. Even nightmares. Like a nightmare could be a unresolved issue. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be something that's unresolved, right? Like I had a client that had a recurring nightmare and it was unresolved anxiety. And she had this feeling and uneasiness of being watched at night. And she was a grown woman, but what that nightmare revealed was that when she was a kid, there was a landlord that used to spy on her through the window when she was getting undressed for bed. And then the family, she told her mom, and then the family moved, right? So she felt responsible for them having to move. But at the same time, she was just a kid. So she didn't work through all those emotions, and it was kind
right.
of lingering now. And so when she came in to see me, we were able to clear all of that and put things back, set her mind straight as to what that really was. Nobody's watching her now. It's something that had already happened to her that she kept replaying, right? And then alternate realities, I mentioned that too. Sometimes clients in their dreams are going to another planet. They're going off planet to another reality or another dimension. And so they might have a different body. They might have that dream where they have two heads, or they're walking in a furry body, or, something interesting, or a different environment. So these are all things we can take another look at while we're in session.
Okay, so how do people, so let's talk about session, because for those of you wondering what kind of session it is, well, I will tell you my experience with Bryn. I have hard time explaining the words, but I will tell you that venturing into past lives, and she is an expert on this, and you need to tell people what SESR is too. But what happened to me, and Bryn, you can talk to this, it opens up a part of you. I'm not saying it hasn't always been there, but it gets open. And then once it's open, dreams start to become clearer. So what am I talking about? The minute that I got out of that, I went the next weekend and I created a board game for us to use for our crowdfunding in 2 days. And it was amazing. But why didn't I finish it? You see, here's why. When I started to talk to other people about it, they're like, why are we doing that? Why aren't we doing this? And so this is something to really protect. You have to protect your peace. The other thing you said, I'm so glad you said it because I'm going to go in there and tell Linda. I've been stopping during my day and I've been saying, I just need to sit in the front room for a few minutes. I just need to walk away. What's wrong? No, 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 nothing's wrong. See, if we're not at rest, we're not going to get the information, are we? Worry and anxiety is a dream killer. What do you think?
Well, yes, no matter what, right? While you're trying to sort it out, while you're in the middle of the dream, where you're ready to launch it, the worry and stress, because you're overthinking it, you're trying to nail everything down. Like sometimes I have to take a drive. You get into another part of your brain when you're in the car that is a hypnotic state. So I might take a drive up the road and just no radio on in the car. But as I'm driving, things just drop in. They just do. So I have a quick little exercise
Please,
people can do.
let's do
So
it.
you can also communicate with your guide, right? You can, before bed, you can do some dream work where you ask your guide to communicate with you. So sometimes they're communicating with you to wake you up, but you can now implement that process by before bed, you can ask your guide or your loved one to come to you in your dreams in your favorite setting, right? You can say, hey, will you meet me in a boat on a lake under a full moon? Or can you meet me in Scotland in a grassy hillside? You know, if you had a vacation there, something that's your common favorite place. Can you meet me on a sandbar at the beach, right? And then ask that you remember your dream upon awakening. So you're gonna ask your guide, you're gonna ask to connect in your favorite place, and then ask that you remember that dream. Then the next morning when you wake up, have a pad and paper ready and make notes. Make notes about the details of the dream. And also notice the feelings around the dream, right? Oh, this was so wonderful. I felt love, I felt joy, or I felt at peace. Notice the feelings around the dream. And then do it again and again. And then you're opening that communication with your guide.
I love it. Bryn, this is such an important message, and there's so much more we can talk about, but I think we should follow this session up with talking to people how to protect their peace. You see, all of these things we do, the time I've spent with you, I can't even explain to people, but it opens something up. And part of that, you have to use some discernment. And that's part of this today. People that are not familiar with you, be mindful of who you share those dreams with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to be careful to share your hopes and dreams with someone that you know. Don't share them with someone that you know is negative.
Yeah, don't do that.
While they're still in the embryonic stage, right? Just get a little more meat to them, and then you can start sharing, right? And, you know, we all have people like that, but they're here to test you. Are you really going to go forward with this, or are you going to let other people stop you from moving forward with what you know you're going to do?
I love it.
Just real quickly before, I know we're about to finish up here, but we have the workshops scheduled. We've got a 2-day workshop coming up in July.
Wow.
And another 2-day workshop coming up in August, because I know a lot of people have been contacting me, and this is a new course. It's going to be an intro to hypnosis. I'm going to teach you how to hypnotize and how to emerge. It's going to be that foundation that we build on in the certification course, but I'm going to break this out as a 2-day course for people that want to try it, for people that know they want to take the course. This used to be day 1 and 2 of the certification, but I'm separating it out so people can try it and then continue on with certification if they choose to.
I love it. Everybody, to find more out about Bryn, you got to go to brynblankinship.com. Bryn, thank you so much. And for those of you out there, your dreams are special. They're beautiful. They're for you. If you need some help putting it all together, especially with your past life version of yourself, Bryn is the person you want to call. If you want to learn more about how to educate yourself, this 2-day course, that's the way you want to go. Bryn, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Dr. Pat.
You've been listening to Afterlife Teacher, Soul Lessons bringing you full circle with Bryn Blankinship and Dr. Pat. Tune into Transformation Talk Radio for more discussions of the soul's journey across different lifetimes and soul lessons gained, helping you to consider the deeper reason you are here. Bryn shares her wisdom spanning 20 years of guiding spiritual regression clients into the afterlife and connecting them with their spiritual team and soul's purpose to bring them full circle, helping you gain insight into your own soul's purpose while supporting others in fulfilling theirs. Living in partnership with your soul, with less worry and greater trust, you can be in divine flow and thrive. For more information on becoming a certified hypnotherapist and regressionist and assisting with the global transformation taking place, visit brynblankinship.com.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.